Shalom. I just wanted to take a brief moment to talk about what it takes to keep fighting for your freedom from emotional incarceration. Many men have started this journey, and because of discouragement, because their wives or girlfriends impassively dismiss these new emotions that they're expressing, trying to release the trauma and other things that keep them in this box of masculinity, they've decided to walk back into the cell, that mental jail cell, the lonely one that we all know, that feels safe, but is actually detrimental to our lives. I want to just share with you the common mistake we make as men when we try to break free from emotional incarceration or the masculine mandate, where we as men can only be strong, bold, fearless, which is silly because every man will feel fear from time to time. Even the greatest warriors have. We can only be aggressive instead of assertive. Can't be a nurturer. So that's why I say, the goal is to become a comprehensive man. Strong but sensitive, courageous but compassionate. A man who can live from his heart, freely live from his heart instead of his fears. And what I mean by that is so often we would feel like, man, I would love to, for instance, with me, how many times as men we'll walk by our wives and not follow our hearts and give them a hug or give them a kiss or just simply say, I love you. For me, it's difficult at times because of the way I grew up. We was considered weak if we were holding a woman's hand in public. My brothers will often tell me, you can't let a woman know how you feel, not even your wife, or she'll use it against you. So years of that type of programming has caused men to basically just fall in line with one adjective. And as a result, we see it in society, especially the statistic about suicide, that we die 3 to 4 times as likely as women. Bottling up our emotions may work for a while, but when life shakes us, we're going to pop. And that's why we catch ourselves with outbursts of anger, punching holes in walls at the slightest offense, and cursing in your car when someone cuts you off, or just not being emotionally stable at all. So let me just share with you just one principle I had to apply in order to make it this far on this journey. I want you, this fight for freedom is for you. Okay, and I'm gonna stress you because so often we place good men, especially men of the Most High, we place everyone before ourselves. And even in things that we're trying to do, that we want to do for ourselves, we somehow make it about someone else. If you base this journey or this fight to freedom from emotional incarceration on your wife's happiness, on your children's happiness, you will never find peace, because they're human just like we are. And not all the time will our wives be patient. Not all the time will our wives intently listen to us when we're sharing a heartfelt issue. Do you shift and go back to the old way? No, you can't. For me personally, I pray, I meditate, I release every negative emotion that's arising. And I do this in the moment, gentlemen. And I will teach you that as well as I continue sharing videos on this channel. So please subscribe so you'll be notified when I do. Until I learned how to fight this fight for me, I found myself giving up a lot when it didn't feel like people really cared about how I was feeling. So it's imperative that we fight for ourselves. It's like I remember coming up in my community, the parent, when we would go to church every Sunday, my mother would make me go. I couldn't stand it. And it was honor for the parents. Like, it was like this, they had this they would force you to get baptized. You know, even though you didn't believe in Yahushua or Jesus, you had no understanding of who the Most High was or how the church worked or any of that. They forced you to get baptized because it was like this badge they can hang on the coat of parenting that my son or my daughter just gave their life to Christ or whatever. But because I didn't do it for myself at the age of 6, there was no change in my life. When I turned 13, I became very rebellious. I was far from the Most High, far from being a servant of Yahushua. Jesus was a joke to me, all because I was forced into doing something for someone else instead of myself. It's honorable, gentlemen, to want to become a better man for your wife and your children and your siblings and humanity. It is. And of course, it's the right thing to become a new creation or creature for the Most High, to become renewed by your mind so that you can walk out in His will. Yes, it is. However, for you to stay on this narrow path, you have to walk it out for your own self. Even your salvation is written that we must walk out our salvation, our own salvation, with fear and trembling. So my son ain't getting in the kingdom because of something I did. He has to walk it out for himself. We all love affirmation. But if you lean on affirmation from man, you can never not only please the Most High, I think it's Galatians 1:10, okay? But you will never be able to stay consistent in this fight for your own freedom. Remember, gentlemen, every emotion is fleeting. So just because you're motivated or excited in this one moment, it's going to change the next day or maybe in the next few hours. So what is it that keeps you fighting that good fight? For me, I know who I'm doing it for. Of course, I place the Most High first, okay? But once I'm here on this horizontal plane, I'm fighting for this freedom, or to stay free, for me. Some of us have father wounds. You know, we long for affirmation. Just, you know, we're tired of, you know, we're trying to be a good man, but we're often called the bad guy. That gets old and we just go right back in our cell and shut the door. But gentlemen, we know that place very well. There's no true peace there. There's no true happiness there. There's sadness, depression, suicidal thoughts. So I hope I just wanted to take a moment. I felt led to just share with you after reading a direct message from a man who was ready to give up this fight for his freedom, because he felt that his wife and his sisters didn't really care about what he was expressing. It is written, Proverbs, I believe 27:17, that iron sharpens iron, so as one man sharpens another. It's crucial, not only that you fight this fight for yourself, that you fight this fight with another brother who's fighting his fight for himself. Sharpening iron or a sword or a weapon, you know, causes friction, okay? Unfortunately, many of us as men, because we lack so much affirmation throughout our lives, we prefer polishing partners, someone who can just polish us up to make our swords or our knives look like they're very sharp, but they're not. So when sin or temptation or an addiction come, we can strike at it as many times as we like. But since our blade hasn't been sharpened, we can't cut it. So now we're back in a lifestyle that we've been trying to break free from, or men who struggle with passivity because either they were abused or bullied. Okay, when that fear comes up again, because that blade hasn't been conditioned or sharpened, where sparks are flying, you can't cut at that passivity or that fear to get that out of your way so that you can walk bold in a resolute spirit. I remember when I was at a track one morning, just trying to get some miles in, just running. And I ran into a gentleman. He recognized me from social media. And he started sharing with me, very successful man. Actually, I believe he was a lawyer or a doctor, and he had been contemplating suicide. Very successful in his career, but felt like no one really appreciated him. And so as we were talking, he says, man, I even called, to talk to counselors, and they kept telling me, well, you don't want to kill yourself. Think about your children. Think about your wife. And he looked at me with tears in his eyes. He said, well, what about me? What about me? We walked around one more time and we took a seat on the bench. And I told him, you are worth the fight. Let me say this again. You are worth the fight for your emotional freedom. Of course, your family, your friends, and everything else deserves a better man, father, etc. Brother, uncle, nephew, son. But until we learn how to fight for ourselves or feel that we're worthy of this fight, we'll continue to waver when it doesn't feel like people value in us what we see in the mirror. Just like a boxer entering into a boxing ring, the bell sounds and he starts fighting. That fight is between him and that man who was in front of him. But he has to fight to protect himself, okay? His corner, his coach, his cut man, they're there supporting him. His wife, his children, his sister, his girlfriend, they're there. But they're not in this ring. This ring of life, gentlemen, we have to fight for ourselves. So keep swinging, okay? But punch with the target. Punch with assertiveness. Don't be aggressive, just losing your control of your emotions. Eventually, you're going to leave yourself open to get hit. Instead, be strategic. Block when the punch comes in. You are worth the fight. Shalom.